Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your very excited host, Tony Cañas. Very excited because I have my full setup for the first time in a long time. And today I have with me Woody Klemmer, Head of Growth at ForMotiv. Woody, how's it going today?
It's going great. I'm glad you have your setup, as we were just saying. I don't. I moved this weekend, so I will be blurring the background so you don't have to see what's going on back there.
All good, all good. And LinkedIn says you are in Boston. So did you move within Boston?
I did. Yeah, we're about 20 minutes outside the city, town called Westwood.
Okay. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So we are recording on May 9th. May, I'm guessing, can still be a little chilly up in New England, or it might be getting really nice.
It finally turned. It finally turned, but now we're getting that wonderful May rain. So today's the first somewhat sunny day we've had in a while.
All right, all right, all right. We always give the guest a chance to give the elevator pitch. What is ForMotiv?
Yeah, so ForMotiv, what we do is we call it behavioral data science. It's somewhat of a bridge or a combination of behavioral analytics and then real-time data science. So we work primarily with Life and P&C carriers, and we analyze how people actually physically fill out their digital applications. We call it digital body language, but how are they typing? Where are they hesitating? Are they moving their mouse and changing answers? All of these different behaviors. And we can identify risk. We can identify things like non-disclosure in the life space or leakage in the PNC space. And then we can also use the data set to predict things about their intent, right? Like how likely are they to actually purchase a policy? Are they window shopping? All the way through to, is this a bot or a malicious actor or a fraudster? So we give them the ability to make smarter, more profitable underwriting decisions, and then obviously grow their business.
All right, all right. Um, so I'm a big fan of behavioral science in general and behavioral economics. Um, at this level of granularity, at this level of digital, I'm 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 gonna say Big Brother, and I mean that not in the negative way, just in like you truly are watching my every click, right? It does worry me a little, right? So the insurance nerd in me wants to avoid I can never remember the insurance term, uh negative
Bias.
yeah the insurance nerd in me really what I'm literally going to INS nerd, of course, made a mess. Note to future Tony, when you're editing this, clean this part out. Give me just a second while I kind of grab the spilled.
Or time.
It got so I've got my gaming computer here right next to me, and like the side is open. I was very lucky that it did not go in there. That would have been very, very sad. Although a great excuse to build a new one, which I'm always looking for a new excuse. All right. So hold on for just a second. Okay, I literally went to insnerds.com, which is my site, and looked at the looking right now at the insurance glossary because I cannot think of this term. Uh, moral hazard, but really what I'm looking for is adverse selection. Adverse selection. All right. Okay. So no, no to future Tony editor, edit this part out. Okay. So I'm an insurance nerd. Totally totally get that carriers want to and need to avoid adverse selection. Totally get that. But it does make me nervous kind of at this level of granularity. So my basic question is I'd love to hear where the science comes from that backs this up.
Yeah, so I guess to start, the most important thing is we're not capturing any of the actual inputs.
Mm-hmm.
It's purely how you fill it out. We kind of kid, we're like the high school math teacher. We don't care that x equals 7. We don't see what the final answer is.
Mm-hmm.
We need you to show your work. So if you were to type in Tony, we don't see that it's Tony. If you were to type in your weight, your height, your zip code, your credit card information, we're not capturing any of the actual data inputs, just the behavioral data.
Mm-hmm.
Why that's important, obviously PII is such a hot topic, but we're GDPR and CCPA and we're compliant. We've been through the ringer. We work with 6 of the top 10 P&C carriers and 4 of the top 10 life carriers, and they have as stringent of regulatory guidelines and rules in place as they possibly can, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's not just about finding the bad guys. Obviously, they need their own fraud tools. They need the ability, like in the PNC space, pre-fill fraud has been such a big thing where you have bad actors that are putting in stolen IDs and then getting back the pre-filled data from other third parties and then scraping that and using that to apply for unemployment and credit
Oh,
cards.
interesting. Never even thought of that one.
Yeah, it was in the New York Times. So we help
Okay.
them identify the bot, not show the pre-fill for those users, obviously in real time. So the bad actor really, and if you think from a consumer perspective, you're supposed to be honest on these forms. Not everybody.
Mm-hmm.
That's trending in the wrong direction. We just published something actually last week on the younger you get, the more likely it is that you're okay with fraud. You don't consider insurance fraud. You are jealous actually of your peers. I did a talk with Verisk down at their conference about this, of how the younger generations are getting much more lenient with what they view as
Oh,
bad and what
okay. Okay. Let's dig into this because this is super interesting. Okay, so I'm not a demographer, but I play one on TV, so to speak. I wrote the book on how to engage millennials within insurance. Now, my research into millennials and now Gen Zers is secondary research. I'm not a researcher. I bring ideas from primary researchers, bring them into insurance from the perspective of how do we engage and retain millennials and now Gen Zers as employees, not as customers. But uh, and then on the fraud side, my training within insurance and fraud has been hard fraud, right? Faking an accident, faking an injury, faking a loss. Soft fraud has always been popular, so to speak, right? Right. Like I did have an accident, but I'm inflating it to cover my deductible or to quote unquote get my premium back because I've been paying you for years and you've never done anything for me, kind of thing. But I have never heard of a generational difference in soft fraud. So I definitely want to hear more about this and point us to the resources because I'd love to link it on the show notes.
Yeah, we try to publish a blog or an article, thought leadership piece like once every other week or so. So if you go to formotiv.com, you can find it right on the blog. I'll send you the link. But
Thank you.
yeah, the talk wasn't the analogy we used was self-checkouts at grocery stores.
Mm-hmm.
How many of you have said that it was just a normal avocado and not the organic when the organic costs $1 more, right? Like, where's the line where people are willing to go over it?
Mm-hmm.
And you get more intense versions of that where people are checking out, scanning the banana and putting their steak in the bag. So there's different variations of it. I like that you mentioned soft fraud because we
Mm-hmm.
presented with RGA at their conference too on soft fraud. And even one step beyond that is, and we kind of view the difference as you'd never go to jail for saying that you forgot an accident, right? Or a speeding violation. We see a lot of it in like an auto, for instance, of, you have an 18-year-old kid who has an accident, you put him on the policy, the bill's astronomical, all of a sudden that driver is removed, but the vehicle stays and the policy's 50% cheaper, right? There are things like that we're able to spot in real time. In life, the big one, we call it smoker's amnesia. Yes, I smoke.
Oh my god, that might be the best price ever. Smoker's amnesia. Okay.
I can't take credit for that. When I was just
Uh-huh.
first starting, like 2019, I heard somebody else say that
Okay.
too. But you get the point, right? It's
Okay.
like, yeah,
So hold on. In life, and I'm a PNC guy, but in life, uh, even in like fast underwrite life, right? Even in uh low coverage amount, 10-year term, that is underwritten in half a second, mostly statistically, kind of like the third most important question, right? It's like male, 41 years old, smoking, right? Because
That's
it's so bad for you.
the
So
class.
so how we can totally detect in saliva or blood or urine or whatever that you're actually a smoker and you conveniently forgot. How can you guys detect that digitally? That one by itself is a huge deal for life companies.
Yeah, so the big concept, whether you're in life or P&C, is the whole accelerated underwriting movement. How do we get
Mm-hmm.
straight through? How do we do more touchless, fluidless in the life space, right? Like everybody used to do a fluid test, a nurse visit for everybody. When I bought it 8 years ago, I had a nurse come to my house. I did the blood, the urine, the whole nine. They don't want to do that anymore.
It's
And
expensive. People don't want to go through it. Absolutely.
right? And so the more that you do that, and same thing on the PNC side is, how do we sell more direct? How do we have a direct policy? Obviously, we'll also have an agent policy, but what we're doing is we're helping them figure out. We think of us like a triaging tool where I'll give you an analogy. I love the analogies, but I was flying recently and I was going through TSA and one, you have the metal detector, and people go through the metal detector, and every one in every six or one in every eight or whatever the random population
Or
is, they pull out.
Tony every freaking time. Yeah.
So they pull you out and they say, hey, we're going to do a random bag check, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how they've always typically done it. And then they introduced this bag scanner, the X-ray bag scanner. We're like the X-ray bag scanner, where we're watching every single policy that goes through and telling them with more accuracy than a random holdout, hey, this one, something fishy popped up on this one. Why don't you pull this person out of line? So it gives them greater confidence in the people that they are accelerating, but also the ability to confidently pull out people that have a much higher degree of potential risk. Because the whole concept and the whole challenge, the holy grail is how do we accelerate the people that deserve it, that are genuine, that fit our risk profile,
Mm-hmm.
not do that and miss, and add too much friction where we're it's always the security, customer experience risk seesaw. You add friction, the user experience goes down, but you catch more. You
Yeah.
remove friction, customer experience goes up, but you take on more risk. We're helping them balance that by saying you can accelerate the confident, genuine applications, but also by looking at these behaviors. And we've now been doing this for 6 years. We processed hundreds of millions of applications. So we have a catalog of high risk behavior. And
Mm-hmm.
what we're able to do is say, hey, this person has a 4.5 times more likely chance to be lying about smoking. You should do the fluid test for them, the cotinine test, instead of randomly picking out of a hat. Right.
And
And
all of that just based on how I behave while filling out this application for a couple minutes.
I mean, I'll give you a super, I mean, this is incredibly dumbed down, but like if you say, yes, I'm a smoker, and then you see that they're going to ask you 5 more questions,
And you switch.
and all of a sudden you press no, right? If we flagged every person that did that, you'd have way too many, it would be too much noise.
Okay.
But I'm just giving you an example of something so simple as, yeah, I'm a smoker. Ooh, no, I'm not. Maybe you were just curious, right? Like, what's it going to ask me? Does smoking pot count? Does what are, tobacco? What kind of tobacco does the smokeless Zins and things like that? Do those count? So there is an element of confusion, but we'll see people that then engage in how many cigarettes, then they lower it, then they go back and press no, right? Or you get a quote and then you go back and you start manipulating data to try to see if you'll get a lower quote.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Of course.
actually able to look at those behaviors and then see that this resulted in a 27% premium decrease. And so that could be a flag, right? So it gives them the ability to make those real-time triaging opportunities smarter.
Perfect. 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 Um, and if I'm understanding correctly, it, the software, the ForMotiv is not making the decision. You're not denying my insurance. You're just
That's
signaling to the
incredibly important.
carrier that I should probably be put through through the deeper process, whatever that means at that particular carrier.
Exactly. Just like that TSA analogy, we're not saying you can't fly. We're just saying before you fly, we want to take a look at your bag.
All right.
You know?
What makes sense to me. What is the integration like? Right, we all have legacy systems. In some cases, very legacy. In some cases, more modern legacy. How do you guys integrate into either a life or a PNC company?
So it's a JavaScript library. It's a copy paste right into the source code. Some folks will even use Google Tag Manager. That'll get you 80, 90 yards down the field. And then usually people have some custom components that they've built from a UX perspective that needs a little bit of back and forth. But I would say on average, we're in production within a sprint or two. And that's not a sprint or two's worth of work. That's like getting a resource assigned, getting access to the testing account, email back and forth. This person's on vacation, whatever. And even still, that average is a sprint or two. So we've had ones that go long. We've had a top 5 life carrier up and running in like 8 days. So,
Holy crap! That for a large carrier, that is impressive. And large PNC carriers are slow at everything under the sun. I'm guessing that life carriers are on average slower.
yeah, I mean, I also it's I have to put the asterisks that
uh,
I'm on the development team, but when we hear other developers say, "Oh, that was pretty simple," I was on a call the other day with somebody in South Africa actually, and they said we estimated this to be 3 hours worth of work. Now, will it actually take them 3 hours? Who knows? But that was when they saw our onboarding guide. They said this will take a couple hours. So relatively simple, and then you get access to our console. We usually do, like if we're doing an engagement with a customer, we meet with them every other week. We present findings, we get feedback from them. We take a data-driven approach. So obviously, I mentioned earlier, we have all of this capabilities out of the box. Life P&C, we've just seen a lot. And so now we take a very consultative approach to say, like, this is what leakage looks like. This is what non-disclosure looks like. These are the high impact questions we want to take a look at. Do you have any feedback? Are there any that you want that we're not looking at? And so then they'll say, okay, we're interested in this, and this, and we take the feedback. And then there's a whole modeling approach. We do a lot of, again, I mentioned in the very beginning, real-time machine learning. So the idea there is if you can predict the purchase intent of somebody real time, you can literally change the experience as they're moving through it. So the whole overarching theme is a dynamic experience, which essentially just means that right now everything is static, other than maybe a reflexive question or two, however many, and you get kicked out or you don't. What we're trying to do is enable carriers to say, Tony's experience should be slightly different than Woody's, because Tony's window shopping, Woody's a high intent buyer, Tony's risk profile is like this, and Woody's is like this. So we want to have different variations of what our experience could look like, or at the very least, what the actions that we're going to take on each individual look like. So they're able to do it real time, literally in milliseconds. They can call a model, any of our behavioral data or signals. There's a lot of flexibility with the way to ingest it, use it, real time, offline, etc.
What is the pricing like?
That's a good question. We have some carriers paying us, low 6 figures. We have some paying us mid 7 figures. So
Is it by each time you ping us? Is it an all you can eat plan?
SaaS, usually we start with what's your volume, and then it goes from there, sort of puts us in a range, and then based off of what solutions you're interested in, how many models you want, how many applications are we going to be on? Is it just auto, or do you want us on auto, home, renters, etc.? So there's sort of a 3D picture. But no, it's not like Verizon. We're not charging by the minute. We're not charging by the API call or by the seat or anything like that. It's a yearly price. There's no overages or anything like that. So we try to keep it relatively simple. We just need a couple variables in order to produce a simple agreement, if that makes sense.
Perfect. Um, what are the clients saying? So 6 years is a good amount of time. So at this point, you probably have a good idea kind of what the ROI is. What any client success stories, and feel free to use company names if you want to and are allowed, and don't use them if you're not supposed to.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to mention them, but I did
No
mention
worries.
here we have a handful of top 10 clients, and they're incredibly positive. I mean, it's a unique data set, right? We're the only ones really in the world that are offering this to carriers. The solutions themselves continue to get better. So, 2, 3 years ago, it was mostly just data. Now we've actually wrapped that data into solutions for things like non-disclosure, for leakage, for growth, for an agent. Agent has been a huge one for us recently because 6 years ago, everybody said agents are going away, they're going to be disrupted, everything's going D2C. Obviously, that
uh,
hasn't manifested. You see a lot of those companies that
mm,
were saying that their stocks are down quite a bit or they're out of business, and the agents are still there. So we now have solutions around agents helping their experience be better. Agent analytics is really a blind spot for 99.9% of the carriers. So we offer solutions there.
fantastic.
Agents too that may be gaming. So from an ROI perspective, our renewal rates are incredibly high. We so it just kind of depends on the use case, right? We have in the volumes and things like that. So giving a blanket ROI statement is really more disingenuous than
Absolutely.
anything. But all I can tell you is that the data flywheel, the more we learn, the better the solutions, the more customers we get, the more data we have to make the solutions better to get more customers. And that's really starting to churn. We've been having not an easier time. It's never easy to get clients, but I think the product market fit is certainly different than where we were 5 or 6 years ago. And also the customer readiness. They're ready. The leakage is a problem. For 2 years, they were focused on growth during COVID. Then obviously everything happened with the economy and they all started taking a bath and losing billions of dollars a year. Then all of a sudden they're like, wait, our rate hikes hit. They're all blowing their earnings out of the water, and now they're saying, hey, maybe we should start to grow again. So all the while we've been saying we have a growth solution. Well, you really got to keep an eye on leakage because you're going to let all these people in, and a lot of them are going to be riskier than you're anticipating. And so then leakage and non-disclosure the last few years has been, what was that thing you were telling us about? Hey, the only customer that we've talked to that's like looking at like leakage, the way that we are real time during the application flow, not calling out to a third party data check after the fact, but uh, and now we're getting back into a little bit of growth mode and saying, all right, let's help you grow, but grow profitably. So again, on that matrix, you might be super high intent buyer, but you might be super high intent because you just got in an accident 2 days ago. So should be treated differently than Tony, who's really high intent. Because, like me, 3 days ago, because I just bought a house and I just really need home insurance because I'm trying to close on this house and I need it. Right. So there's different ways of, again, triaging and creating better experiences while minimizing your risk that we're trying to facilitate.
I want to take a quick parenthesis. The agent's comment. Uh, for any investors or anybody else not yet convinced that agents are here to stay, please take it from us. Learn from the failures of prior insurtechs. Agents are here to stay, especially in more complicated personal lines, especially in commercial lines. And oh my God, in life, the agent is never going away because nobody buys life insurance for fun. It's not a mandatory product. Life truly is sold, not bought. So the agent is never going to go away. So anyway, that was just a parenthesis. Okay, so we talked about implementation, we talked about pricing, we talked about client success stories. Origin story, where did this come from? Who and how did they realize that this was a need in our space?
Yeah, so I would love to sit here and say it was the old aha, oh my gosh. You wake up in the middle of the night and go, man, I bet insurers are really concerned about reading digital body language, right? But this was a product after many evolutions. So the original builder, Andrew Schwab, he built the technology for form analytics. It was initially called Formatic, and it was analytics for forms. And then all of a sudden there became a machine learning component, because you have all these surveys and things like that. There just weren't, there's Google Analytics, but there's nothing about behavior, form fields, where are people dropping off, basic analytics. And I'm going to make this a long story very short, but basically he partnered up with a guy named Bill Connors, who then partnered up, brought a guy named Mike Mayock in. Somewhere along the line, they got introduced to a company called iPipeline, which is big player in the life insurance space, and said, hey, I think there might be an opportunity for this for us and just more broadly within life insurance. And then I joined and we started exploring everything from Comcast to Grubhub to Life to PNC and just seeing what sticks. And eventually we started getting a lot of traction in the insurance space. It started learning, started getting, a little bit more knowledgeable on the space. What are the issues, the challenges? The data started to capture, the model started to work, the product continued to be developed. And it's one of those things where every year you look back, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that's where we were a year ago. It feels like, that we were so bad back then. And every year we've gotten that much better. So now we're like, we chopped off all the limbs. We're just insurance. We're providing and doubling down, tripling down on the insurance space. We believe, we want to be, and we feel like we are the industry experts in the space. And with that, I think makes it easier for customers to be trusting in us and saying, hey, we know you work with all these people. Everybody talks. What are you doing? How can you help us? Here are the issues. Oh, by the way, those are the same issues everybody's having, right? How do we grow, but how do we grow profitably? How do we get more analytics on our agents and things like that? So it was the end result has been, I would say in a year, we'll probably look back at what we're doing today and still say, oh my gosh, I can't believe we were doing everything like that today. But it's been many small iterations, tweaks, a lot of learning, a lot of conversations, and kind of evolving as the industry's evolved. So
Fantastic.
detail.
Any features or anything that's coming down the pipe that you can already talk about? And before you answer that question, I will tell you that this episode will probably go out. I want to say end of June, but yes, June 12th is likely when this goes out. So taking that into account, any new features that you can already mention?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is going to be, and we've been doing this throughout the year already, is the user interface for our solutions. So that's something where this time last year, nobody really ever logged in to our console. It wasn't something, sort of like Stripe, right? Like, no, their payment processing works in the background. I don't need to log into their dashboard. And they never really built it out that much. And then slowly they started building it out more and more. We've started to do the same thing. So we've realized that, everything that we've pushed real time carriers are doing, but they're also interested in, hey, can I explore the data myself? Can I either have the behavioral data or the sessions themselves? I want to look into particular cases or particular applications and things like that. So we've built out again, we'll probably look at it a year from now and say, oh my gosh, that was so bad at the time. But right now, it's this pretty robust way for you to look at literally down to the form field type click, level, and then rolled all the way up to broader trends and analytics for your applications, for your agents, for your agencies, on your D2C products, all across the different solutions, the conversion and growth, leakage, fraud, etc. And that's just going to continue to get, we've started to roll out product marketing emails because now we have a product that people can actually look at. So we have one coming out next month. That's going to be about a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about now. And every week, it's versionless. Every week they're adding new stuff and new filters and new capabilities. And we get so much customer feedback now that we didn't have for a long time because no one was using it, because we didn't want them to use it, because we wanted them to do everything real time. But now that they're using it and logging in and making it part of their workflows, you get a lot of the, hey, it'd be really nice if we could have this. And our team is so lean and they move so quickly that you might have that in a week, you might have it in 2 weeks, and carriers are like, oh my God, I can't believe we asked for that 2 weeks ago and now it's live. But when you're nimble, then you can do that and take rapid feedback. We've been able to really ramp it up incredibly quickly from where it was literally at the beginning of 2024.
Fantastic. Fantastic. We're kind of in the middle of the spring conference season, but any conferences this spring and next fall that if people want to meet in person, say hi to the team, shake hands, where can they do that?
Yeah, I think we've been to like 14 conferences already. We're on the circuit right now. It'll die down a little bit starting in June, but in the fall, obviously the big one's ITC. We're always there. We just got out of AHU, which was in Boston, which was nice.
That's health.
Yeah, the underwriting.
Mhm.
ITC would be the big one. We'll be at conferences all fall, but that's where we send a decent amount of folks from our team and really get to network, but also see a lot of our customers and a lot of our partners. And, we like that event a lot. So
All
or
right.
reach out before then. You can always hop on a quick virtual chat, or if you're in Boston, I look for any excuse to leave the house. So
Woody, thank you so much for your time today. Very, very interesting stuff. Digital body language. That's my word of the day. I'm gonna try to find a way to use that word. I'm heading to InsurTech Tampa tomorrow, and I'm gonna try to find a reason to use that without the easiest way to do it, which would be yesterday I interviewed ForMotiv, which is in the digital body language space.
good
Uh,
luck.
Go ahead.
Great though. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time today.